And then we're all going to live in Oklahoma together as a family, and I'll be with my daughter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a recap of Impact Wrestling. And we'll be right back in 30 seconds. Hello again, everybody. I am the chairman, Nathan Doft. Tony might be joining us a little bit later, but so Impact was a good show. Little predictable, not as good as the last two shows that we reviewed. Um, the first match was Time Machine, which is the Motor City Machine Guns, and Kushida versus the Design, which was Diener, Khan, and Angels, who I might add has been making a lot more down here in the Pacific Northwest. So if you live in the Pacific Northwest, watch out for him in the near future. I had just heard that he'll be at the second annual Metal Mania, along with a man that we've interviewed on here before, the Rat King. And then, so the Motor City Machine Guns and Kushida got the win. When Kushida hit the hoverboard, the next then they had a segment with Eddie Edwards and King saying that that sometimes they said they hadn't talked since Honor No More ended, but at Jay Briscoe's funeral, so there was a mention of Jay Briscoe on Impact. They realized that how close they were and how much they were like family, and family sticks together. And then would be facing Kenny King at Sacrifice this Saturday. Then they had a match between Savannah Evans and the Virtuoso Deonna Purrazzo. Back and forth match. Really good, actually. One of the better women's matches I've seen all week. But Giselle Shaw and Alice got involved. But Purrazzo ended up getting the win with a crucifix pin. But afterwards, all three of them attacked him. Or attacked her and beat her down. So that set up the match at Sacrifice with those two, and they're trying really hard to make the Giselle Shaw look like a top main eventer, but I'm not quite sure if they're going to be able to. Then you had Mickie James, and then you had a segment with the Death Dolls. and saying that the Covenant should not be playing around with magic. Taya said that they weren't going to talk about magic anymore, but then Jessica said you that told us not to talk about magic, and that she was going to go find the Covenant and get their belts back. So then she took it off down this hallway and came to a casket. When she bent down to open the casket, a white light appeared, glowing out of it. And Taya stopped her and said, "You remember Rosemary and I told you, don't look into the light." And as Taya, a hand came out from inside the casket and grabbed Taya and pulled her in and shut the lid. And then Jessica ran to get Rosemary. In my opinion, this is probably a way to write Taya out of Impact, because we know she's done with them and she's been working with AEW. So, and then earlier in the night, the Covenant said that they did what they said, that Rosemary shouldn't be calling Taylor Wilde a Charlotte, not to be confused with Charlotte Flair. I think it's SH instead of CH. Then they had a match between Tommy Dreamer and Mickie James versus the GCW Heavyweight Champion. And Masa Slamovich and Bully Ray. And good match. And we'll be back in 30 seconds to finish the rest. And we're back. So that was a good match. Tommy Dreamer or Masha and them got the win. Afterwards, because Bully pulled Masha told Bully to put Mickie through the table, but Jordan Grace came out with a kendo stick and hit Bully Ray with it. Didn't do much damage, but Bully turned around and was gonna do something to Jordan Grace. Jordan took her jacket off, backed up to spear Bully Ray, but Mickie James instead. Okay, segment, kind of maybe anticipating some kind of feud between those, some kind of relationship between Bully Ray and Masha. And I want to say hey to Dakota. Thank you for joining us tonight. Then in the main event, it was Brian, I believe in Joe Henry. I can't clap, so I'm sorry about that. At least not the way he does it. And Dirty Dango very interesting tag team versus Brian Myers and Moose. And Brian Myers and Moose were an interesting team only because Moose didn't seem like he was there so much to wrestle, but to um, for his finisher. I mean, his match at Sacrifice, which is actually what happened because Joe Hendry Moose hit the no hand spear, and then Brian Myers hit the roster cut on on Joe Hendry to get the pin. The reason it's called the roster cut is all the way back for the learning trip, Brian Myers. So the announcers were kind of going nuts, saying that we could have another digital media champion. And then earlier in the night, Rich Swann and saw Steve Macklin going through Josh Alexander's bags. And Macklin said something about well, maybe he wants me to be in here, so they're doing some doubt between Swann and Josh Alexander. Josh came in and saw Rich in his locker room and said, "I'm going out to the ring to figure this out." So he came out, said that that Macklin had plenty of time to cash in when he was doing the open challenges, but obviously he didn't. And so then they package of him watching. Hello, Tony. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Sorry I'm late, but hey, I'm here.
It's all right.
Anyways, the show must go on, so go ahead.
So, Macklin showed a video of him watching Josh Alexander over multiple times during the year, or his year title reign. Alexander got really angry. He wanted to do it right now in Vegas. Macklin said no, he's going to do it on his time and in Alexander's hometown of Toronto for Rebellion on April 16th. So that's how the show ended. Grade-wise, I would probably give it a C, mainly because they have a pay-per-view coming up on Saturday, and they really didn't do much to build for it. It didn't feel like a goal. It kind of felt like another Thursday night Impact. Impact at times, and this isn't a slam so much on Impact as far as the talented wrestlers they had or have, but it was just the way that the show was put together. I just got a new cell phone today, and there were times during Impact that I was thinking more about my phone than what was going on in the ring, which is kind of sad for pay-per-view. So,
well, shame on
there
you
is
for
some
playing with new
news
toys.
that have. Well, I watched it obviously, otherwise I would have been able to do this. But there were some times that I was like, I wonder if my hotspot that I'm working on is gonna work when I do it next time. And if it's a go home show for a pay per view, it shouldn't be that way. It should keep your attention, throughout because you're building to the climax. And again, that's not a slam on the talent that Impact has, because they have probably one of the most talented rosters if you just look at the roster solely in wrestling right now. Although I am confused on why they're not cross promoting Masha Slamovich as the GCW Heavyweight Champion. You would think that would be something they wanted to elevate. Unless they couldn't work out anything, which could be possible, but I don't really understand that either because it would benefit both companies. So we'll be back in 30 seconds to talk about the rest of the wrestling news. So we'll be right back. So, Tony, have you heard the latest on...
Welcome back. While our host is taking a siesta, have you heard the latest that Naomi has now left the WWE?
Actually, that was one I didn't even hear, so please continue.
Well, good. As you're still continuing to take your siesta.
I am not asleep, by the way. I'm thinking about taking that picture away so Tony can't play with it anymore. So continue with the Naomi story.
She left. It was on her Twitter today that she is no longer with WWE.
Very interesting. Do you think she's going to New Japan? So follow Mercedes.
I think she's following where the Monet went.
I'm glad we talked about her. Yes, that was funny because she told a Comic-Con. They asked her if she thought that this version of the Bloodline was the strongest bloodline in wrestling history, and this surprised me. She has the most powerful bloodline in wrestling because of her and Snoop Dogg. Now, I get that she was probably just being sarcastic, but can you imagine being like any of like the Hanoi or the Fatu's or the Rhodes and you misread that? You think she's being serious?
Yeah, I don't know.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And the big news I heard today was CM Punk going on his Instagram and bashing AEW and Tony Khan and Jon Moxley.
Yeah, wow.
Did you see that post or hear about that?
No.
Okay, so you remember when Punk broke his foot and they did that unification match between him and Jon Moxley for the title? And it only lasted and everybody was kind of saying, damn, that was short. Well, apparently Punk wasn't medically cleared to wrestle in that match. And I have to reiterate, these are only Punk's words, not Tony Khan into this, or there hasn't been any him on his Instagram. But anyway, he said that he wasn't medically cleared, and then he said that Jon Moxley refused to lose to him. That Mox tried to tell him that he wanted to do a Rocky 3 comeback, to which CM Punk told Moxley that he never saw the Rocky movies, and Punk told Moxley that Well, he'll have to check it with Tony Khan because Tony Khan's the boss. And he asked Tony, he said, Tony, is this what you want? And Tony said yes. And so then Punk went out and did it, but then he said Tony Khan forced him to work injured. And Punk regretted it because after what happened in WWE, he admitted for putting his body on, his health above his career. Now, here's the problem I have with that before I get your opinion on about that. One, we both have watched Jon Moxley long enough to know that he's not that type of person to say that I will not lose to you. If Moxley thinks that it's going to be better for the show, he'll put the guy over. So I have highly doubt that happened. And the part where he said that Tony Khan forced him to work and doesn't care about his talent, pretty much. Well, we know that's a lie because Tony Khan has shown the opposite of that when he's gone to bat for all his talent. Sure, there's some guys that have been mad at him, but it's that way in any business. So, to me, this just sounds like sour grapes from CM Punk coming off of that. I think it all started because there was that semi truck next to the ambulance when Nick Jackson got put in the ambulance. It was a promo truck and it had Punk's face on it, but they had laid a piece of cardboard over the truck. Everybody thought they blocked him out. It could have just been they put the cardboard there. That's you know what I mean. That's where.
Yeah.
Where it landed.
It could have. Yeah, it could.
Exploded, which he's known to do. So, what's your thoughts on that whole situation?
Mr. Phil being Mr. Phil is all I can say. Phil being CM Punk.
Yeah.
As everybody knows that is his real name. However, it's just Phil being Phil. He can't be happy unless he's the center of attention. And obviously, he can't be the center of attention in AEW because that's where the Bucks and Kenny by God Omega is.
Yeah, and like I said, there is no evidence that Jon Moxley is the way he said he is, and there's no evidence to say that Tony Khan is the way that CM Punk said he is.
No, exactly. And
Chris Jericho a stooge.
Yeah, really. Chris Jericho is far from a stooge. He's a goat.
Yeah.
So, have you heard this little bit of news? Bobby Lashley is going to be getting a new WrestleMania opponent.
Yes, I heard it was, and you do this better than I do, so please help me out with this. If we're thinking about the same person,
are you thinking about Let Me Talk to You?
Yeah.
L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Yep, that's who I heard too. And on a positive note, before we get back to that one for a second, I did hear just before I came on, or before I watched Impact actually, that Alexa Bliss is cancer-free now. The doctor got all the skin cancer off her cheek. He found more than... and she said she got it because before she came to WWE, she was a fitness model. And she would spend a lot of time in tanning beds to get her skin to look, the way she wanted to for the competition. But as far as LA Knight and Bobby Lashley, I think that's going to be a WrestleMania-worthy match and possibly could be the show stealer because nobody saw it happening. The reason I say that is, A, they're really talented. Both of them are. 2, they already have a familiarity with each other because they were both in Impact at the same time, and I believe faced each other over the Global Championship, Heavyweight Championship when LA Knight held it. Or at that time it was Eli Drake.
Formerly known as Eli Drake. Yep.
So there's that familiarity, and you know what would be awesome is there was a pitch match between LA Knight and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It would be interesting if, like, at the end of that match, because I don't think you need him to interfere in that match, right? I think it needs to be either a clean win or LA Knight going and like cheating to really, establish himself. Especially because they have him going in the heel. And then afterwards have Austin stun LA Knight because LA Knight's been talking trash about him on Twitter and stuff to try to kind of goad him into the match. And then do the classic Stone Cold where everybody thinks he's going to party with Lashley. And then turn around and stun Lashley. And then, you get your Stone Cold moment at the...
and for, that's going to be a good match. Yeah. But, let's talk about WrestleMania here for a minute. We are a week away as of Saturday. 1 week away.
I know. Until you guys are all going to be disappointed because I'm going to get all of them right and I don't have to wear a dress.
If I can steal a line from one of my favorite promoters of all time, you got no chance in hell.
Hey, there's always a chance.
There's no chance.
Okay.
No chance in hell.
Why do you think there's no chance?
Because the Fatal 4-Ways.
Yeah, but I mean, I have a 1 in 4 chance of getting those right.
Okay, if you want to use those odds, that's fine by me.
I'm pretty comfortable with all the rest of them except for possibly, as much as I was 100% sure, possibly the Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns match. Even though I'm still like 90% sure it's going to be Cody, the way they've been setting up the Jey Uso Roman Reigns match makes me kind of wonder if he's going to like hold on to the title. I mean, and then that one's kind of confusing because all the reports say he's supposed to take a break after rest.
He still can.
And just do what? Pull up Brock Lesnar and not defend the titles?
No, he's going to lose the titles. There is no Roman Reigns walking out of WrestleMania as champion. There's no way.
Well, what about the feud they're building with him and Jey Uso?
Okay, well, they can build that, and they can come back. They can still build it, and they only need like a pay-per-view to build it. Say they lose, and they miss WrestleMania Backlash. They don't do Money in the Bank because neither one of them are going for the main event for a little bit. Let's say though after that should lead you to SummerSlam, right? They come back at the end of
July.
They come back at the end of July, maybe after the Money in the Bank.
Possible.
Or here you go. Jay comes back first, gets in the Money in the Bank, wins the some bitch. Roman gets jealous, comes back and challenges Jay at SummerSlam for the Money in the Bank championship. or for the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Ooh, I like that story. Even though it's probably going to cause me to lose, I like the story behind that. So that Roman wins the briefcase, and then they do a rematch. The title.
Of course.
Okay, so if you do that, who's Cody's first opponent?
Oh, Nathan, you're gonna love this.
Okay.
Cody's first opponent is a returning RKO.
I can see that. Because there is a lot of rumors going around that he's on his way back, possibly at WrestleMania, because they're flying him out to Los Angeles.
Cody's second opponent? The Machine, Brian Cage.
Ooh. Okay, so let's talk about Brian Cage for a minute. If you were, how would you bring Brian Cage in? I know yesterday we talked about him possibly taking on Lashley, but now it seems like it's going to be LA Knight. So,
and I'm still not 100% sure it's going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin that interferes in that match. Maybe it's Brian Cage.
Interesting. So doesn't he just interfere to interfere, or do they have him join an alliance with LA Knight? Because, you know, WWE's pretty big on groups right now.
Well, let me talk to you about this one. See what I did there again?
I did see what you did there again.
LA Knight wrestled Bobby Lashley. Who you were right. They had friction in Impact.
Right.
Same as Bobby Lashley. Who's another person in Impact Wrestling that had friction with Bobby Lashley and Eli Drake?
Brian Cage.
And Brian Cage, correct. But didn't Christian feud with all three of those men?
Yes.
And isn't Christian actually a free agent now?
Yes.
Okay, so how about this? How about Eli Drake? Yeah. The Machine, Brian Cage.
Right.
And a returning Christian in a faction. And they all return to beat up Bobby Lashley.
I like that, but would you have Christian debut as part of that faction, or would you have him re-debut his Brood?
He goes Brood first with Edge.
Yeah.
Because Edge doesn't need Christian because, as you like to say, Christian was the Marty Jannetty of that tag team.
He was. Okay, so let's go with your faction idea. Any ideas what you would name the faction?
It has to be something that's only 2 syllables.
Oh boy.
Because you know how Eli it's gotta be 3 syllables. Yeah, dummy.
Okay.
So this is going to be very difficult for Bryce. What do you think we can do for you? Every time I'm on any kind of diet or anything,
No, that's 4.
I'll stick to them and I'll see results from But I'll always got to
Uh,
at that point, and I'll start going back to my old ways. Diet never work. Okay, what is working is for a healthy habit.
what if they did like I don't know. I lost where I was going. Any ideas?
Some other stuff. You walk away from other addiction, and that's crazy. But
Not really.
your addiction is good. You need to do
And, okay, let's not think about the name right now. Who would you put after the world title first?
Well, it depends. Are we going to split the titles, or is Cody going to keep them both?
To WrestleMania. No, Cody's already said if he wins them, he's splitting them. Plus, I think USA would riot against WWE if they didn't split the titles and USA didn't get a champion back.
Which again goes against your theory of Roman Reigns winning, because as long as Roman Reigns wins, he's not splitting the titles.
Unless he's forced to.
Do you see WWE forcing Roman Reigns to do anything he doesn't want to do?
No, but how about, why couldn't they do a storyline like this? So Roman like cheats to win against Cody, right? So then he has both the titles. And then Adam Pearce comes out and says that's not the way this match is gonna end. And Cody says something like, or Roman says something like, fine, I'm only putting one of my titles on the line. And then Cody gets, Roman says, I know you want the WWE Championship. And then he says, but I'm going to give you the Universal Championship shot instead, because Roman's a heel. He would never go with what the face wanted. But then Adam Pearce counters that by saying, no, we are going to give Cody what he wants. And then they put the WWE Championship on the line, and Cody wins. That way Cody has his title belt. Cody goes to Raw with the WWE Championship, the one he wants, because that's the one his dad had. And then, or had a shot at. And then Roman goes to SmackDown with the Universal Championship.
Well, I think you just got a hard on for Roman Reigns, and you just want him to keep a title and not lose them both.
No, I mean, I have no problem with them losing them both, but I think if you go with your plan of like Jey Uso facing Roman Reigns, I think it would carry more weight if like Jey not only defeats Roman to discredit him as the head of the, besides that Roman held the closest to, which was being the champion and having that power.
You're reading too much into it. You've just got a hard on for Roman.
No, he doesn't do it for me.
They're gonna have a championship scramble at WWE Backlash, or WrestleMania Backlash, for the vacated Universal Championship. Cody's gonna
you think other than vacated, or you think he would just drop?
Cody's gonna.
Oh yeah, Cody's gonna
vacate it. Roman's not walking out of WrestleMania as a champion.
And that's a good possibility. But I'm just saying there's a lot of different ways that match could go.
And here's the little caveat to this. The title is vacated, and any male wrestler drafted to SmackDown that night is in that championship scramble.
Ooh.
So it wouldn't even be a member of the current SmackDown roster. It would be a member drafted to SmackDown.
So are you thinking maybe Braun Breaker? If they call Braun Breaker up and drafted the SmackDown?
I'm talking any person that is drafted, any male that is drafted to SmackDown from Raw will get a chance at that vacated Universal Championship.
I also wouldn't be surprised if they do, considering he's the host of Backlash, and it is in Puerto Rico. So
yeah, and you always have to have some somebody.
I wouldn't exactly call Bad Bunny no talent. He showed some pretty good moves.
Well, don't you call Logan Paul a no talent nobody?
Fair point.
I changed that part of my life. But him is a totally different thing.
But okay, so when the bloodline disintegrates, because we know that's going to happen, does Paul Heyman stay with somebody from the Fatu family, or other Paul Heyman?
Well, no, because
girl, if it's Ronda Rousey.
Because Jay and Jimmy are going to have a new manager after Roman leaves, and the wise man leaves.
Who are you thinking?
Doug struggles with anything negative emotionally in his life.
Oh, yeah, Rikishi.
I think it's
so then who does Heyman go after, or does he just go away for a while?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I'm the advocate for the baddest woman on the planet,
I wish I could have
Ronda Rousey. And that's exactly who I was thinking too.
But he knows we have to do this.
I mean, she's basically screaming for Paul with the way she does her promos. She's basically screaming for Paul Heyman to be her
advocate.
On that note, I believe we're close to the end. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, the CARE program, which stands for Community Action Reaching Everybody. Also, Bruce W. Nichols Painting. And then don't forget, for the fans that are listening from the Longview Kelso area, Saturday from 8 to 11 at Faith Family on Ocean Beach dinner for the Special Olympics, benefiting the Longview Kelso Special Olympics. So if you love pancakes and want to support a great cause, come out and say hello. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back on tomorrow night with the recap of SmackDown.
Oh man, another show tomorrow night?
Yeah.
All this new content. Well, I guess that's because we have new viewers joining in from all over the United States now. So we told ourselves we would put more viewers on. So,
and before I just remembered something. Saturday or Sunday we will have somebody listening in. I am not even going to try his name, but he's an independent manager for Plex. So looking forward to that. On April 16th, we have Wesley from the Special Olympics coming on, who calls himself the Wrestling Encyclopedia, knows a lot about the 60s wrestling scene and the Seattle wrestling scene. Also, Jericho Cruz. On the 23rd, we have manager extraordinaire from WCWC, now managing one of the most popular and dominant factions in the Pacific Northwest, Hellbound, and that's Al Tubbs, or for WCW or WCWC fans, Mr. Tubbs. And then I believe that's all we have right now. We're working on some others, trying to get some female wrestlers on here, but
yeah, and I know you have so many questions for Mr. Tubbs, like how could he hold a key while he was getting wet in a swimming pool at a trailer park?
Or tape in his pants.
Or tape, yeah. So
yeah, I mean,
I know you got many questions for that man. So
that had to be very sticky.
Well, almost as sticky as your situation tonight, but we won't get into that on air.
Yeah, we got into that a lot more on the card than I anticipated, but that's
okay. Anyways, let's go ahead and we bid you adieu. Good night. Bye.
see you.
Really scared me.